I'm glad to welcome you to another portion of Hot Potatoes, coming to you from the oven. Issues and ethical dilemmas, where young people in this show are willing to talk about, and some of us, we must admit, are only prepared to think about. As we consider relevant topics, we ask you to also prayerfully engage in what you would have done in the various circumstances. We will talk today about current issues. And by current affairs, we really mean things that are in the news, that are happening. And we would like our team to consider that as part of our Christian development. I am glad to say that our team is ready, and they will start off with the first question, which is something I would like you to consider as well. On the other side of the break, you will have had the opportunity to see their decision and also where you stand on the matter. So let me open with a scenario as we look at current affairs. A high-ranking public officer served in an important capacity for many years. One day, a journalist exposed the fact that he lied about his academic qualifications. He then confessed and apologized. Can he be trusted afterwards? Yes or no? On the other side of the break, we will see where our young people have decided on this issue. I am Edward Apollos, your host, and this is my team. Welcome back to Hot Potatoes. And we're looking at current affairs. And we want you to consider this one along with our team today. A high-ranking public officer served in an important capacity for many years. One day, a journalist exposed the fact that he lied about his academic qualifications. He then confessed and apologized. But the question that needs to be treated this time is, can he be trusted afterwards? And our team has taken their sides. And guess what? They are 50-50. So let's hear. Can he be trusted afterwards?
I don't think
Yes.
he can be trusted because who says that he has really repented? Maybe only confessed because he was found out. And who knows what other plans he has that he would continue with, if he gets another chance. And especially with the fact that we know there's so much corruption in the government, I think one needs to be careful, not to give a second chance to someone that has already done something wrong.
And I
All
mean,
right. And furthermore,
yeah, for someone who has gone away or has gotten away with it for so long, I mean, this guy was probably thinking to himself, "No, I'm going well, I'm going well." And then that moment that he was found out, it was like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, and sorry. That is for me. That's not sincere. That's not sincere guilt.
okay, you are saying, though, that in spite of what has happened, the person can be trusted afterwards. Tell us why.
Yes, he can be trusted. This person, he confessed, which means he admitted that what happened, what he did was wrong. And I think we should give him a credit. Some people, when they are caught, they try to defend themselves, but this person confessed. So I think we should trust him.
Okay. All right. I can see you want to respond to his point.
Yes, however, the people that do confess and the people that do confess at the end of the day are the people that actually defend themselves and don't confess to the crime that they've committed are people that still feel as if there's a way out of the situation. But if you're cornered and you can see that there's no way out, then obviously the only thing that you can do is actually confess. So how do we know that he was confessing because there's no other way out, or is it because he was genuinely feeling guilty?
In addition to
yes.
that, he only confessed because he got caught. So if he had not been caught in the first place, how do we know if he was going to eventually confess of his untruths?
You are still saying on that side, in spite of that, he can be trusted afterwards. Tell us more.
Yes, I want to go back to the Bible. I think the story of the woman who was caught in the act of adultery. That woman, she is caught, and after being caught, they bring her to Jesus, and Jesus says, "We do not condemn, but whatever you have done is forgiven. Go and do away with it no more." So now, the very same pardon that Jesus Christ is practicing on that person, is it not possible that it can be practiced on the same person, that he has committed a mistake? Yes, we agree and accept that. But at the same time, are we saying that that person cannot be redeemed or given a redemptive approach by giving him another chance to prove himself? Or even better, even when we look at his academic record, yes, poor, but when we see what he has done, the job he has been doing, is it not equivalent to the very people who are qualified for the job? Or did it do damage control all these years he's been cheating with his qualification? So those are the things we should
let's hear
consider.
from the other side. There's some pertinent questions being raised here from the other side. How do you respond?
Well, my opinion is that the lady that was caught in adultery, first of all, she was set up for a fall, and it was almost I almost want to say it was like a false allegation against her, because the main point of that whole story was to catch Jesus out. And with regard to this guy, I think we've mentioned it over and over again, is he's been getting away with it for so long, and now a half-baked apology and a confession. How can we say, yeah, no, sure, we'll trust you? I think if we would want to trust him ever again, I think it would take a serious amount of time and him having to prove himself.
But
Yes.
is trusting a person based on the quality of his academic record, or on what he has been doing all these years?
Yeah,
If
the
I can
question.
pose
Yes,
a
you're
question.
responding to that question?
Yes. Suppose you are a parent and you are hiring people to look after your child, and one of them brings you a fake CV about the experience she has in looking after children. Then you hire her, only to find out afterwards that she has never worked at those places that she has said she worked. Are you going to continue having her look after your child, or are you going to get someone else?
But has she done a better job? That's what we are looking at. Yes, the qualification might be fake, but have I done a better job, or have I done something that would go against what I'm doing? Because even now, if for instance, if I am a lecturer at an institution, I might be using a fake qualification. But if whatever I've been teaching is of good quality and is not going to shape anybody out of their way and is building up people, what are you going to judge me and say that whatever Ndaba, are you going to use what Ndaba is saying based on, or just because my qualification is fake? Or are you going to look at what I have given to those people? Is it quality based on the education structure? How do you base it?
All right. I think he's raising some questions he would like this side to consider before we come back to you, Chepo. So let's hear some responses to his question.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's not how the world works now. Before we hire you in any institution, we need to first know who you are and what you can do. Now, in a case of how good or how bad you have performed, we can no longer trust you, because in the first place, we don't know who you are. Like you have deceived us. Doesn't matter how good the job is, you have just deceived us. The moment we get up, we're just caught by surprise. We really don't know who you are. And coming to think of it, how can we trust you again now that you're saying, I'm sorry? And then how are we going to trust again that even your surname is your surname?
Okay. All right, Chepo,
Yeah,
you
going
have-
back to Ndaba's situation, that's a matter of life and death, where I would leave my daughter or son with a person who I really don't know. But in this situation that you've brought to us, it's a matter of trying to prove yourself. Because when the world does not give you a chance to prove yourself, ultimately you will have to create something so that at least you can be noticed. And within that potential, even though you might have lied, within that, the world should see a potential in you and perhaps empower you in pursuing whatever you want to pursue. But that man should be given a chance.
So we are talking here about this issue, in particular what we're looking at is really lying and trust. And to what extent are we saying, can these two be bedfellows? But we are listening more. And Tene, you wanted to say?
This person, according to me, can never be trusted again. And if I were in authority, I would literally kick them out.
Kick them out. More boys, you can't accept that.
I don't accept
Yes,
that.
now tell us.
It's actually wrong. I'm just thinking for myself as a sinner. I've done so many bad things and I've asked for forgiveness. And God always forgive my
Time and
sins.
time again.
And why is that some people, we have to struggle too much to give them another chance, but God always give us a second chance each and every time.
There's a question for us, but no lingo.
I really want to add to what he's saying. By the moment I do something, regardless of how wrong it is, by the time I go behind the veil, no one knows what I pray to my God and in what manner do I pray to my God. And no one has a right to say that I do not deserve a second chance because they do not know what I do secretively with my God. They do not know if I confess every time with my God. And so I want us to draw us back to our attention to another biblical character, which was Peter. Peter denied God in public, but regardless of that, he's still considered as one of the most great characters in the Bible, and he was forgiven by God, regardless of what he has done. No one has a right to say that somebody else, because of what they have did, they deserve such and such and such judgment. As long as God opens avenues for grace and for forgiveness, no one can close that door.
Oh, we are dealing with current affairs in this series of Hot Potatoes. And we are looking at really when somebody has lied about his academic qualifications, confessed and apologized. Can that person still be trusted afterwards? This is what we're talking about when that trust has been broken through the lying, and we are saying this person is now in that position. And this is what we are discussing as we're listening to your side.
Yes, after this trust has been broken, it becomes a question of integrity towards the person. Can you ever trust that person? If they were able to lie about this, you said, Tsepo said that they needed a platform to actually advertise themselves. That is the reason why they've done that. And we see that this person has gone all out, broken the laws, done illegal things just to get what they wanted. So how am I able to trust this person to carry on if they are able to do this thing? And you spoke about God constantly forgiving us. God knows the heart, and that is something we don't know. And I don't think I'd be able to work with someone not knowing what their next move is towards me.
And that is why it's called an ethical dilemma, a hot potato. It is not as straightforward as we always want to put it. And I'm so glad that my team has applied their minds well to this question. And when we consider these current affairs, there's another issue I would like to bring to you. Consider, would gangsterism in the Western Cape, South Africa, be resolved by the local community only? That is the issue we would like to discuss on the other side of the break. Welcome back to Hot Potatoes. We are looking at current affairs. And the issue of gangsterism in the Western Cape, South Africa, is what we are looking at. This can only be resolved by the local community. Where do you stand on this issue? You are divided. So let us hear your thoughts.
The problem is with the community. So members of the community are the ones who have the capacity to solve the problem. You find that when you bring outsiders, for instance, police or the army to come and solve the problem, they do not have that passion as the owners of that community to solve it. So they will work up to a certain extent, and when it becomes too much for them, they just let it go. But if you find someone who is directly affected with it, he will not let that problem go until that problem has been solved.
All right, let's hear some more from this side.
Yes, just to add on what Ndaba just said, that's one of the things my mom used to tell me when I was growing up, that if you want something to be done, do it yourself. And I believe that the police have no connection with the people. They don't really know what's going on, so they take their time. As a result, after a crime, you see that the police only come 30 minutes, an hour after it actually has happened. And that isn't very effective towards the betterment of the community. So if the community stood up and did their things on their own, I think it would be resolved much quicker.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the
yes.
other thing is, in this case, there's so many incidences where you find that the police also become scared of attending such cases where there's been crime that is committed out of gangsterism, to an extent that they become scared because they kill them as well. Because maybe, let's say there's 50 gangsters and then there's only 10 policemen that come. In most cases, they kill them. So where in a case where because community becomes more affected, and they are the ones who are very closer, and they are the ones who can act faster than making calls for police and stuff. Actually, I do believe that if they are the ones that say we want this to an end, yes, they are the
It
only
will
ones
happen
that they can
in the
end it.
community. However, the rest of the team, the other half, is saying that's not the case. The local community is not the only solution. Tell us
Yes.
why, right? More boys?
The local community, it's not their duty to find some ways of solving the problem. They must put everything under the hands of the government. The reason why I'm saying that dealing with gangsters is not an easy thing. The community, they don't have the resources and they don't have even the facilities. But now look, on a national level, they can bring some experts that can also give an input in trying to solve the problem.
Okay, and let's hear some more on this side.
I think to add, I'm not completely with more boys, but I feel that the community cannot by itself fight gangsterism, because if they try to do that, first of all, you open up the door for so many other illegal activities like vigilantism, where people try and be heroes and so forth. I think if we want to stop gangsterisms in our community, it has to be a task where the police, the government, and the community come together, sit together, and work together towards a common goal.
Okay, okay. We hear you. Is there then more from this side that wants to respond to Tyson?
Another thing is that when we get external forces to try and help our problems, they are there for a limited amount of time. The community is still the one that remains behind to implement whatever solution you might be coming up with. And another thing is that who knows the hideouts of gangsters better than us who are living in the community, who know that, oh, if you're looking for certain characters, I know where you can find them, just go around the corner. Yeah, you get what I mean? So I believe that the community should have an active part when it comes to getting rid of gangsterism.
Yeah, and for
Yes.
example, I remember in some area there were boys who would rape women who were going to work, were working in the factories. Every morning when those women walked to the bus station, they would always rape them and do nasty things. Up to an extent that one day the men of the community decided that we will walk before these women, an hour maybe earlier before they walk to the taxi rank and to the bus station. And funny enough, when they walked and they hid somewhere maybe by the bushes. So when these boys came in the morning, they first caught the two, and they beat them. They drove them up inside the community, and then there was a lot of noise. They called people to an extent that they even burned them with tires. It was kind of scary, but believe me, after that it was gone.
The local community, the role of the local community. Simple.
So we don't dispute the involvement of the community in as far as allocating these where the crime doers are. However, if they would do it in the absence of the government and what was implemented to help them eradicate this problem, it will make another problem, because they will perhaps find an individual who perhaps looks like a criminal or who is the brother to the criminal, and they will make an unjust judgment on that person. They might kill him, they might hurt him. So you never know when a mob tries to take things into their own hands. It becomes a mess. So to avoid a mess, you need structures that will give fair judgment upon the crimes.
So I'm hearing you two speaking to this very important topic, and let's continue as we go.
And another thing is that some of these structures take time. Okay, I don't know who made the example that sometimes you call the police and they only come 30 minutes or an hour after the incident itself. So sometimes these structures that we put in front of us delay the process of action taking place.
Okay, don't doubt.
I think there is a problem when you get outsiders to come and solve a local problem. The local people, they understand the problem. They understand the root of the problem. And they know, believe it or not, they know how to get rid of that problem. But then if we take a solution that comes outside the community to solve this problem, that solution might not be 100% geared into solving that problem. It might be a holistic solution for all types of situations, and yet this particular problem needs a specialized solution, which can only come from the local people.
And we're going to end off with a last comment from this side, who's saying,
I don't think the community should take the law in their own hands. My concern is that if they kill someone, they will end up in prison. And the other thing is they're putting their lives and their family's life in danger. And that is why I think it is good if they do work with the police or the army, because they are trained. They know how to work with these things. So we should include them.
well, a quick comment from you, more boys.
Yes, I totally agree with her that in most cases when those gangsters are arrested in the community, when they are taken to court, those cases they are always dropped because there's no one who is willing to testify in court because people are scared.
A hot potato indeed. We want to come back after the break to see how we can get counsel from the Bible and also from inspired writings on this very hot potato that deals with gangsterism. I thank you very much, Steve. You have spoken well today, and we thank you for your contributions on the show today. Welcome back to the last segment of our show, the biblical guidance and inspired writings counsel to us, as we deal with this very important topic on current affairs. I start off with a quotation from Desire of Ages. The Lord is disappointed when his people place a low estimate upon themselves. He desires his chosen heritage to value themselves according to the price he has placed upon them. God wanted them, else he would not have sent his Son on such an expensive errand to redeem them. He has a use for them, and he is well pleased when they make the very highest demands upon him, so that they may glorify his name. They may expect large things if they have faith in his promises. We notice further in this quotation, he saves men not in sin, but from sin. And those who love him will show their love by obedience. The last sentence of Desire of Ages 6:8 tells us, through an appreciation of the character of Christ, through communion with God, sin will become hateful to us. The book Testimonies for the Church says, even life itself should not be purchased with the price of falsehood. By a word or a nod, the martyrs might have denied the truth and saved their lives. By consenting to cast a single grain of incense upon the idol altar, they might have been saved from the rack, the scaffold, or the cross, but they refused to be false in word or deed. though life was the boon they would receive by so doing. Imprisonment, torture, and death, with a clear conscience, were welcomed by them, rather than deliverance on condition of deception, falsehood, and apostasy. By fidelity and faith in Christ, they earned spotless robes and jeweled crowns. Their lives were ennobled and elevated in the sight of God because they stood firmly for the truth under the most aggravated circumstances. In the book My Life Today, no man can pride himself on his truthfulness, for unless he has overcome, he does not know what truthfulness is. No one can know the strength of his truthfulness and honesty until he has passed the fiery ordeal of the temptation to acquire means in unquestionable ways. He whose heart is filled with the love that proceeds from God does not allow self-exaltation or dishonesty to find place in his life. He who is born again of the Spirit reveals Christ in the daily life. He is upright in all his dealings. He does not sly, cunning, underhand work. The good fruit that appears in his life testifies to the condition of his heart. In the sanctified life, it says, those who have the mind of Christ will keep all of God's commandments, irrespective of circumstances. And then, testimonies for the church, it says, falsehood and deception of every cast is sin against the God of truth and verity. The word of God is plain upon these points. Ye shall not deal falsely, neither lie to one another. And then lastly, John 15 verse 5 says, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Ending off with testimonies for the church, men are mortals. They may be sincerely pious and yet have many errors of understanding and many defects of character, but they cannot be Christ's followers and yet be in league with him who loveth and maketh alive. I thank you so much for watching Hot Potatoes. Goodbye.